ended up going to school at Cortland, New York. Most of my time in Cortland was spent chasing girls, drinking a lot of beer, partying. My entire college education was pretty much wasted on girls and alcohol, and had no clue that I was doing anything wrong. I was under the belief that, you know, if as long as you didn't do anything intentional to hurt anybody, it was okay. That was the relationship I had with God. You know, I wasn't hurting anybody on purpose. I was fine. Ended up moving down to Louisiana. While I was down there, I continued to drink heavily. I met a young girl down there. I was 30 years old at the time. She was about 20. So we were in the doctor's office and she starts crying. I'm going, "Why are you crying?" And she goes, "I don't want to get an abortion." And I go, "Who said anything about an abortion?" And when we found out she was pregnant, we got married. And then 3 weeks later, she lost a baby. She had a miscarriage. You know, we ended up staying together and for a while. But I was going offshore on these jobs for like 2 weeks off, and I'd come back in and, you know, everything was fine, except one time I got off early. I came back and I went in the house and bed was made, no one was in it. You know, went back to the shop and did, you know, clean up some tools. I came back and there's Sophie. She's in the house, and I walk in the bedroom and the bed's all messed up, like she was sleeping in it. And I'm like, "So what's going on?" She goes, "Nothing, nothing." I said, "How come the bed's all messed up?" She goes, "Oh, I just got up." I go, "Oh, really? That's funny, because I was here 40 minutes ago and the bed was made and you weren't in it." And she started crying, and she told me she was seeing this other guy, and she told me she should stop, but she didn't, and we got divorced. And I moved up to Alaska, came back, and eventually I ended up back in New York to go to chiropractic college. Shortly after I graduated from chiropractic college, I started dating a young woman, and we dated literally for 20 years. One day, one of my patients, who was a deacon at a Christian church, gave me tickets to go see a play, Who Is This Man? And while I was watching this play, I'm sitting there and I just started asking myself, what have I been doing? Because it was the birth and all the way up to the crucifixion of Jesus. And when we watched him get crucified, I was convicted. I was like, what have I been doing? I walked out of there with Joey. We were looking at each other, and we were both touched. In fact, I knew that I had to change my life. I knew something had to change. When I first became a Christian, I tried to change my 42 years of not being with the Lord. Right now I was 59 years old, in 42 minutes, and I was miserable, you know, and I was really struggling with trying to stop doing everything that was bad. And that was just about everything I did, you know, so it was a total impossible feat. That's something I couldn't do. And I struggled with that for about a year, and during that time my mom got very sick. I would go visit her after my office hours, and one night, just 3 days before my birthday, she goes, "Fred, in 2 days, I'm going to see your father." And my father had died 10 years prior to that. And I said, "I know you miss Dad, and you've missed him for 10 years, and I know how happy you're going to be to see him again, and you're going to be with your number one man." And then my mom did something that still gives me goosebumps to this day. She pointed up at the cross and said, "No, Fred, Dad's not my number one man. Jesus is my number one man. And you put Jesus first and Jesus last, and he'll take care of everything in between." And 2 days later, my mom passed away. I wasn't upset. I was happy because I knew that I saw her faith. You know, I understood what it meant to really love Jesus, to put Him first above all things. And as a result, I understood that now, in order for me to change, I just had to surrender to Him, and He would change me. Was dating Joey, I changed, and I started to change, and I knew that I couldn't stay in this physical relationship with her. And it almost seemed like every day that I was with her, it was getting harder to do what was wrong and easier to do what was right. Because as a result of what he was doing in me, I knew that I had to either, one, stop seeing her completely, or ask her to marry me. And both those decisions were frightening to me. I couldn't believe that I could, spend the rest of my life without her. So I asked her to marry me, and she, gave me her standard answer, which was, in May the day never come, which was a joke we always had about us getting married. And we stopped seeing each other. It felt like a divorce for me. And I know I wouldn't have been able to get through it without the Lord, because in the past, when I had a relationship with a young lady and she stopped seeing me, I was a mess. It actually started me on my drinking. And this time, I had strength that I had no idea where it came from. I was at peace with the fact that I did what I needed to do to glorify the Lord. My favorite verse in the Bible, it's Matthew 14, verse 29. It's not really the verse, it's what happened during the verse. It's when the apostles saw Jesus walking on water and they were petrified. And as he got closer and he said, "Don't be afraid, it's me," Peter asked if he could come and walk to him. And Jesus said, "Come." And Peter got down out of the boat and just started walking on the water, putting his trust in God and Jesus. And he was doing great. And all of a sudden he took his eyes off Jesus and he looked around at the wind and the storm and the rain and the rough waters, and he sunk. And I still do that. I can be Peter. I'm pretty good at being Peter. But every time I look down at the water, there's always a hand reaching down to me to pull me back up. And I thank God. I thank everything He's done for me. He gets me through times that I never thought I'd be able to get through. Literally, I have a bagel shop across from my house, and I started bringing the Bible in there and started reading the Bible. And as a result, he's literally had people come up and start talking to me. If my friends from high school knew I was doing this, they would be like, "You? Seriously? Freddie Kiesacker? Talking to people about the Bible?" He's totally changed me. Once you're in His hand, He's not letting you go. You're His, and He's not letting you go. And the evil one will try to mess your life up, but all you got to do is keep looking at Him and not down at the rough waters, and you'll be fine. Hello, my name is Fred, and this is the story on how God changed me and forgave me and has healed me. And I'm so thankful to Him for that. Matthew 14, 26 to 31. And when the disciples saw Him walking on the sea, they were terrified and said, "It is a ghost." And they screamed out with fright. But instantly He spoke to them, saying, "Take courage, I am. Stop being afraid." And Peter answered Him, "Lord, if it is you, command me to come to you on the water." He said, "Come." So Peter got out of the boat and walked on the water and came towards Jesus. But when he perceived and felt the strong wind, he was frightened. And as he began to sink, he cried out, "Lord, save me." Instantly Jesus reached out His hand and caught him and held him, saying to him, "O you of little faith, why did you doubt?"